From the very moment humans began to tell stories, we've been obsessed with the idea of escaping the chains of time. Ancient myths spoke of gods who could step between past, present, and future at will. Later, writers like H.G. Wells brought the fantasy into the modern age with the time machine. And today, time travel has become a staple of science fiction, from the paradox-laden adventures of Back to the Future, to the timeline wars in Avengers, Endgame, to the haunting loops of Interstellar. But what lies beneath this obsession? Why do we dream of bending time? The answer may be deeply personal. Every one of us has moments we wish we could relive, or undo, a heartbreak, a mistake, a tragedy. Time travel is the ultimate wish fulfillment. What if we could rewrite our story? What if we could see how our choices ripple outward, or skip forward to witness a future we may never live long enough to reach? Philosophers call this our battle with temporality, the awareness that time flows forward relentlessly and that every second gone can never return. Unlike money, unlike possessions, time is the one thing we can't earn back. Time travel, then, is more than a fantasy. It's a rebellion against mortality itself. Yet, while storytellers have painted vivid visions of time machines and paradoxes, scientists approach the question with sharper tools. Before we can ever hope to step into a time machine, we must first answer, what is time really? Is it an unstoppable arrow, or a dimension waiting to be navigated? Is it an illusion of human consciousness, or the very fabric of reality itself? And this brings us to the heart of the mystery. If time travel is possible, it's not just about building machines or wormholes, it's about confronting the very essence of the universe. In the chapters ahead, we'll explore why the arrow of time seems unbreakable, how Einstein cracked open the door to time dilation, and what terrifying paradoxes lurk behind the dream of stepping into the past. But it all begins here, with the human longing to escape the present and the question, is our obsession with time travel a fantasy, or a foreshadowing of discoveries still to come? Every day we live inside time's river. It flows in one direction, forward. You were younger yesterday and you'll be older tomorrow. A shattered glass won't leap back together. A candle once melted won't reform its wax. This constant movement in one direction is what scientists call the arrow of time. But why does it exist at all? Why can't time simply run backward, the way a movie does when you hit rewind? At the heart of the arrow of time lies one word: entropy. In simple terms, entropy is the measure of disorder in a system. And here's the rule. In our universe, disorder always increases. Ice melts, fires burn out, buildings decay. The second law of thermodynamics tells us that no matter how hard we try, the universe drifts from order into chaos. Entropy rises, and in doing so, it gives time its direction, forward. But here's the puzzle. If we zoom down to the level of fundamental physics, the equations that govern particles and forces, nothing seems to demand that time must move forward. The math works just as well in reverse. On that microscopic scale, time has no preference. So why on the grand scale of the universe do we feel locked in a one-way ride? The answer lies in probability. It is overwhelmingly likely for systems to become more disordered over time than to spontaneously arrange themselves into perfect order. Imagine stirring milk into coffee. The swirls and patterns spread out into randomness. The odds of those molecules perfectly reassembling into a neat white layer on top. Astronomically small. Not impossible, but so unlikely we'll never see it. This is entropy's grip on time. And so the arrow of time emerges not from a law written into the fabric of physics, but from the improbable nature of order itself. The universe began in a state of low entropy, a remarkable, almost impossibly organized beginning. Since then it has unraveled. Stars burn out. Galaxies drift apart. Even memory itself may be tied to entropy, because our brains can only record the past as information flows from order to disorder. And this leads to one of the darkest predictions in cosmology. If entropy always increases, then eventually the universe will reach maximum disorder. A state called heat death, where no stars shine, no life stirs, and no clocks tick, because time itself will have lost its meaning. But here's the twist. If entropy is the only thing giving time its arrow, then is backward time travel really impossible? Or does it mean we just haven't yet discovered how to slip between the cracks of this one-way flow? For centuries, time was thought of as universal, ticking like a cosmic clock, the same for everyone, everywhere. Newton's universe had an unshakable rhythm. But Einstein shattered that illusion. He showed us that time is woven together with space into a single fabric, space-time. And in this fabric, motion and gravity can stretch, bend, and twist the flow of time itself. This bending of time creates one of the strangest predictions of relativity, time dilation. Simply put, time does not flow at the same rate for everyone. Two observers in different conditions can literally live through different amounts of time. Imagine this: you travel close to the speed of light. To you, inside your spaceship, the seconds tick normally. But to an observer back on Earth, your clock slows down. Days for you may equal years for them. This isn't fantasy, it's physics, like we've tested this. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station orbit Earth at tremendous speed. They experience time just a little slower than we do on the ground. When they return, they are nanoseconds younger than their Earthbound twins. Tiny differences, but proof that Einstein was right. Now push this to the extreme. Travel near the speed of light. And while decades might pass on Earth, you could return having aged only a few years. This is forward time travel, a way to leap into the future without ever looking back. And unlike Hollywood's time machines, this isn't theory. It's a natural consequence of relativity. But speed isn't the only way to warp time. Gravity does it too. The stronger the gravitational field, the slower time passes. Near a black hole, time stretches so dramatically that a single hour close to its edge could equal years far away. This was the breathtaking reality portrayed in Interstellar. And it wasn't science fiction. It was Einstein's math brought to life. So here's the paradox. Forward time travel is not only possible, it's already been proven. Our technology may not yet carry us across galaxies, but the principle is solid. What relativity denies us, however, is the opposite journey. Moving into the past is far trickier. Einstein's equations don't forbid it outright, but they hint at dangers, paradoxes, and cosmic contradictions that could shatter causality itself. And this is where our journey takes a darker turn. If the future is already within reach, could the past ever be unlocked? To answer that, we'll need to travel through wormholes, paradoxes, and the most mind-bending possibilities of the cosmos. A pulls back from Earth, showing space-time grid bending. In the next chapter, we'll see how Einstein cracked open the door to a universe where time is not absolute, and how relativity turned what we thought we knew about time upside down. Imagine the universe not as an endless void, but as a vast sheet of fabric. Space and time are threads woven together, curving under the weight of stars and planets. Now imagine folding that sheet so two distant points touch. A shortcut appears, an instant bridge across space, and maybe across time. This shortcut has a name, the wormhole. Wormholes are not just science fiction. They emerge naturally from Einstein's equations. The mathematics suggest that space-time can form tunnels, linking two distant regions. To step through one could mean traveling light years in seconds. And if one mouth of a wormhole were accelerated close to the speed of light, or placed in a powerful gravitational field, strange things happen. Time at that end slows down. Step into the tunnel and you may walk out. Not only far away, but in a different time altogether. It was physicist Kip Thorne, later a consultant for the film Interstellar, who explored this idea most seriously. He showed that if wormholes exist and could be stabilized, they might function as genuine time machines. A traveler could enter one end in the year 2100 and emerge from the other in 2025. But there's a catch. Wormholes are unstable. Left alone, they collapse faster than light can cross them. To keep one open, you'd need something exotic, negative energy or matter with properties unlike anything we've ever seen. Some quantum effects hint that such energy might exist in fleeting amounts, but never in the colossal supply a traversable wormhole would demand. And even if we could stabilize one, there's another question. Would the universe allow us to use it? Or would paradoxes erupt the moment we try? Stephen Hawking once proposed the chronology protection conjecture, the idea that the laws of physics prevent time machines from ever forming. According to this view, nature itself censors time travel to protect causality. Wormholes might exist in theory, but the instant you try to twist them into a time machine, radiation and quantum instabilities would rip them apart. And yet, not all physicists agree. Some argue that if the universe permits wormholes at all, then perhaps it must permit time travel as well. The mathematics doesn't close the door completely. Instead, it whispers a tantalizing possibility. The cosmos may contain shortcuts, cosmic loopholes that we haven't yet discovered. But here lies the danger. If wormholes could truly let us travel to the past, then paradoxes would multiply. Cause and effect would unravel. Could you prevent your own existence by stepping through one? Could you alter history beyond repair? To face those questions, we have to explore the most infamous puzzle in all of time travel, the grandfather paradox. Time travel to the past sounds thrilling until we ask one dangerous question. What happens if you change it? This is the nightmare of causality, known as the grandfather paradox. Picture this: you step into a time machine and travel back to the 1920s. There, you encounter your grandfather before he ever met your grandmother. In a moment of reckless impulse, you prevent their meeting, or worse, you eliminate your grandfather altogether. Now think carefully. If your grandfather never lived, then your parent was never born. And if your parent was never born, you never existed. But wait, if you never existed, then who pulled the trigger? Who traveled back in time to cause the event in the first place? The logic collapses in on itself. This is the grandfather paradox, the most famous and most devastating contradiction in all of time travel. This paradox reveals the fragile web of causality, the chain of cause and effect that underpins reality itself. Every effect has a cause, every cause has a past. Break that chain and the entire structure crumbles. Science fiction has played with this for decades. In Back to the Future, Marty McFly risks erasing himself by disrupting his parents' romance. In Looper, assassins sent back in time face older versions of themselves. In The Terminator, the very existence of the future depends on machines trying to destroy their own origins. These stories highlight the same terrifying question: can the past be rewritten, or does time fight back? Philosophers and physicists wrestle with this paradox. If backward time travel were possible, it seems to open the door to contradictions that no logic can contain. A universe that allows you to erase your own existence is a universe that destroys itself. But maybe the paradox is a sign that the laws of physics won't permit this kind of time travel at all, that the past is locked, sealed, immune to our meddling. Or perhaps the paradox only shows that our understanding of reality is incomplete, that there are hidden rules we have yet to discover. The grandfather paradox is more than a thought experiment. It's a mirror, reflecting back the limits of our imagination and the fragility of cause and effect. If the past can't be changed, does that mean our lives are fixed, fated, unalterable? Or does it mean that there are deeper solutions, cosmic principles waiting to resolve the paradox in ways we can't yet imagine? To find answers, we must explore the boldest theories of modern physics. Principles that claim paradoxes might not exist at all, or that every choice you make could split the universe into countless new realities. The grandfather paradox threatens to tear causality apart. But what if the universe has built-in escape routes, ways to avoid contradictions even if time travel were real? Over the years, scientists and philosophers have suggested bold solutions. Each one reshapes how we think about reality itself. Russian physicist Igor Novikov proposed a radical idea in the 1980s. What if paradoxes simply can't happen? His self-consistency principle argues that events in space-time are arranged in such a way that they remain logically consistent, no matter what a time traveler tries to do. In other words, the past can't be changed, because anything you attempt will become part of history itself. Suppose you travel back in time to stop a great invention. You sabotage the inventor's work, but in doing so, you inspire them to find the solution another way. You try to stop the chain of events, but your actions are the very reason the future unfolds as it does. Time in this view is like a perfectly written story. Every chapter flows into the next, and nothing can break the narrative. Another escape route lies in quantum mechanics, the many worlds interpretation. Here the paradox dissolves because every choice creates a new branch of the universe. If you travel back in time and kill your grandfather, you don't erase yourself. You simply jump into a parallel timeline, one where you never existed. Meanwhile, your original timeline remains intact. The paradox vanishes, replaced by an infinite multiverse of possibilities. This idea is thrilling and terrifying. It suggests that every decision, every action creates new worlds where different versions of you live out different fates. Time travel wouldn't destroy causality. It would explode it into endless alternate realities. Some researchers believe quantum physics itself might smooth out paradoxes. In simulations, particles traveling through hypothetical time loops don't cause contradictions. They adjust probabilistically. The universe, at the smallest scale, seems to know how to protect itself. In this model, if you go back in time, you might influence the past, but you'll never succeed in creating a true paradox. The probabilities shift to ensure consistency. Reality, it seems, finds a way to keep its balance. These possible escapes are not just loopholes. They're glimpses of how strange and resilient reality may be. Perhaps paradoxes are illusions, problems only for human logic, but not for the cosmos itself. Yet even if the universe allows time travel, these solutions raise deeper questions. Are we prisoners of fate, locked into one unchangeable timeline? Or are we explorers in an infinite multiverse, with new worlds branching from every choice? The answers may lie in the very foundations of physics, inside the quantum world, where time itself begins to blur into something far stranger than we can imagine. When we shrink down to the quantum world, reality itself begins to behave in ways that defy intuition. Particles vanish and reappear. They can be in two places at once. They can influence each other instantly across vast distances, and perhaps strangest of all, in certain equations, they can loop back in time. These strange possibilities emerge from the concept of closed time-like curves, paths through space-time that bend back on themselves. In theory, a particle could travel along such a curve and return to its own past. It sounds impossible, but the math doesn't forbid it. And in the bizarre playground of quantum mechanics, even the impossible sometimes finds a way. In 2014, researchers at the University of Queensland in Australia performed a remarkable experiment, not with real time machines, but with quantum simulations. They created conditions where photons, particles of light, behaved as though they were traveling through closed time-like curves. The results were astonishing. The photons didn't trigger paradoxes. Instead, the system adjusted itself to remain consistent. It was as though the quantum world had its own way of ironing out contradictions, keeping the flow of causality intact. This suggests something profound. Paradoxes might be problems only for our human logic, not for the universe. At the quantum level, time travel could be self-consistent. That a particle might interact with its past self, but the laws of probability shift to prevent contradictions. Reality, in its deepest layers, appears to protect itself from chaos. Then there's entanglement, the eerie link between particles that Einstein himself called spooky action at a distance. When two particles are entangled, they behave as if connected, no matter how far apart they are. Some theorists have suggested that entanglement might be a kind of communication, not just across space, but across time. Could one entangled particle influence its twin? Not only instantly, but retroactively? Quantum physics whispers that time may not be the rigid one-way river we think it is. Instead, it could be a tangled web of loops, probabilities, and hidden connections, where past and future are not so separate after all. But if time can bend and loop at the quantum scale, what does that mean for us? Could human beings one day harness these effects to step into the past? Or will time travel remain forever confined to the realm of subatomic particles? To answer that, we must leave the realm of equations and particles and step into an even trickier territory, the ethics of time travel. If it could work, should we dare to use it? Time travel has always fascinated us. It is the ultimate fantasy of control. The idea that if only we could bend time itself, we might escape our mistakes, heal our wounds, and correct the tragedies of history. The scientists debate whether it can be done, drawing equations on chalkboards and running experiments with photons. But hidden beneath the mathematics is a far more dangerous question. Even if we could build a time machine, should we dare to use it? Because time travel isn't just a scientific puzzle, it's an ethical one, and that makes it far more complex than any equation. Imagine for a moment standing on the brink of history's greatest catastrophes with the power to stop them. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914, the spark that ignited World War I, you could prevent it. 16 million lives saved in a single stroke. The rise of Hitler in the 1930s, you could intervene before his voice ever reached a crowd. No Holocaust, no World War. 50 million more lives spared. Or picture standing in Pompeii in the year 79, warning the citizens before Mount Vesuvius erupted. Picture handing a physician in the Middle Ages a vial of penicillin centuries before it was ever discovered. sparing Europe the horror of the Black Death. The temptation is overwhelming. If you had that kind of power, wouldn't it be immoral not to interfere? But history is not so simple. It is not a single domino line that can be reset with one careful flick. It is a vast web, tangled and fragile, stretching out in every direction. Pull on one thread and countless others move. Change one life, and you may erase hundreds or thousands that would have followed from it. Prevent one war, and you may allow another, even worse, to emerge decades later. The butterfly effect tells us that even the smallest action, something as trivial as stepping on an insect in the past, might ripple outward into storms of consequences that no human mind could possibly predict. We imagine rewriting history as though it were surgery, clean and precise. But in truth it would be chaos. And so we face the first ethical question of time travel. Is it right to interfere at all? Even with the noblest intentions, we cannot foresee the waves our actions would send across time. To stop one tragedy may be to cause another. To save one person may be to erase the lives of thousands who never had the chance to be born. What looks like mercy in the moment may be cruelty in the long view of history. Then there is the question of power. Imagine that humanity finally builds a time machine. Who would control it? Would it belong to governments? To corporations? To secret organizations working in the shadows? Whoever holds such a device would possess the greatest weapon in existence. Nuclear bombs can destroy cities, but a time machine could erase them before they were ever built. It could alter battles, rewrite alliances, topple governments before they even rose. A leader could cement their dynasty by going back again and again, reshaping history until every page bore their name. Truth itself would dissolve, overwritten again and again, until reality became nothing more than the propaganda of whoever sat in the pilot's seat. Would we trust any government with such power? Would we trust any corporation? Would we even trust ourselves? The problem is not just that time travel could be abused. The problem is that it almost certainly would be. The temptation to reshape the world in one's own image would be irresistible. And yet the ethical dilemmas are not only global, they are personal. What if you could go back to save someone you loved? To prevent the accident that took them from you? To change the one decision that shattered your life? Wouldn't you? Almost everyone has asked themselves that question in a quiet moment of grief or regret. What if I could go back? What if I could undo it? The human heart aches to rewrite its tragedies. We want to bring back the people we lost. We want to undo our mistakes. We want to live the version of our lives that seems better, happier, freer. But time travel forces us to confront the cost of that desire. Because saving one person may erase another. Changing your past may undo the very path that led you here. Preventing your greatest mistake may rob you of the lessons that shaped your character. The alternate life you create might not be better. It might not even be yours. Could you risk all of humanity's future just to soothe your personal grief? And if you could not, could you live with the regret of choosing not to act, knowing the chance was in your hands? Time travel doesn't only tempt us with the past, it dangles the future before us as well. What if you could leap 100 years forward? What would you see? Perhaps a golden age, a civilization of peace and abundance where technology has cured disease and ended hunger. Or perhaps a wasteland, a world of war and collapse where humanity itself stands on the brink of extinction. And then comes another dilemma. If you saw catastrophe in the future, would you intervene? If you knew the year and the place where everything would fall apart, would you bring that knowledge back and use it to change the present? Or would doing so only cause the very disaster you were trying to prevent? And what if you saw paradise ahead, a shining utopia that could only emerge if events unfolded naturally without interference? Would you risk destroying it by tampering? Would you dare to take that chance? Even knowledge of the future is ethically dangerous, because knowing what is to come does not make us free. It makes us prisoners of destiny. If you know the day you will die, do you truly live? If you know a catastrophe is coming, do you act freely? Or are you enslaved to the knowledge of what must be? The future is powerful precisely because it is unknown. To reveal it may not save us. It may doom us. This is why so many of our stories about time travel are not tales of triumph but of tragedy. Again and again in novels and films, the time traveler discovers that meddling with time ends in disaster. H.G. Wells imagined a traveler fleeing into the future only to find the world decayed beyond saving. Ray Bradbury gave us the butterfly effect, where a single misplaced step in the past altered the world beyond recognition. Movies like Back to the Future wrap the warning in comedy, but the message is the same. Change the past and you risk unraveling everything. Science fiction again and again reminds us that the burden of rewriting time is too heavy for us to bear. Why is that? Perhaps because we know deep down that the ethics of time travel are unsolvable. Every action is both good and evil, both salvation and destruction. To change anything is to risk everything. And perhaps that is why time travel remains a fantasy, not a reality. Not because the laws of physics forbid it, but because the laws of morality make it impossible. Even if one day physics unlocks the door, perhaps we should leave it closed. Because the greatest paradox of time travel is not causality loops or the grandfather paradox. The greatest paradox is us. The universe may survive a time machine, but can we? Perhaps that is why the universe has hidden it behind such impossible barriers. Wormholes collapse, black holes devour, quantum loops dissolve before they form. The cosmos whispers possibility, but then withdraws it again as though to say, this power is not for you. Not because it cannot be done, but because it should not. And so the ethics of time travel leave us with a haunting truth. The most dangerous thing about changing time is not the paradoxes, or the equations, or even the collapse of causality. The most dangerous thing is human desire, our grief, our regrets, our greed. Time travel would tempt us to play God. And perhaps, for the sake of all existence, it is better that we never have the chance. Why are we so obsessed with time travel? Why generation after generation do we keep returning to it in our myths, our stories, our films, and even our scientific theories? Time travel is not just a thought experiment. It is a mirror. It reflects something deep within us. Our longing, our regrets, our curiosity, and our fears. From the earliest legends, humans have dreamt of bending time. In ancient myths, heroes slept for what felt like a night, only to awaken in a world where centuries had passed. In the Mahabharata, the Hindu epic, King Kakudmi visits the creator god Brahma, only to return and discover that countless ages have flown by on Earth. In Japanese folklore, a fisherman named Urashima Taro spends what feels like a few days beneath the sea, then returns to find that 300 years have passed. Even before science gave us the word time travel, our stories were already wrestling with the mystery of time's strange elasticity. As the modern age dawned, our obsession only deepened. In 1895, H.G. Wells gave the world The Time Machine, a novel that didn't just tell a story but invented an entire genre. For the first time, time travel was not magic but technology, a machine with levers and gears that could carry its passenger forward into humanity's distant future. Wells planted a seed, and that seed grew into a forest. Every generation since has added to it, creating countless variations. Time loops, paradoxes, alternate timelines, futures both utopian and apocalyptic. Why does it grip us so powerfully? Perhaps because time travel speaks to the most human of desires, the desire to undo regret. Every one of us has moments we wish we could change, words we wish we hadn't said, decisions we wish we had made differently, loves we lost, chances we missed. Time travel promises an escape from the prison of our choices. It whispers you could go back. You could fix it, but it also tempts us with curiosity. What lies ahead? Will our descendants thrive or fall? Will we solve our greatest challenges or succumb to them? Time travel offers a forbidden glimpse behind the curtain of destiny. It is not only regret that drives us. It is also hunger for knowledge, for certainty in a world that offers none. Our cultural obsession with time travel is reflected in the endless variety of stories we tell. In Back to the Future, time travel is playful, filled with comedy and paradox, yet under the surface it is still about regret and second chances. In Looper, it becomes a brutal allegory about cycles of violence and the cost of breaking them. In Interstellar, time dilation turns time itself into the enemy, a force that separates a father from his daughter. In Doctor Who, time is a playground, but also a moral burden, where every choice has consequences across centuries. Each story reveals something about us. Some use time travel to laugh at our mistakes. Some use it to warn us about meddling. Some use it to imagine redemption. But always beneath the spectacle there is philosophy. Time travel stories are never just about machines or paradoxes. They are about us, about our choices, our regrets, our dreams. And then, of course, there is science. Our obsession with time travel has not remained in the pages of fiction. It has driven scientists to ask real questions. Einstein's theories of relativity reshaped our understanding of time itself, showing us that time is not absolute, but flexible, stretching and compressing with speed and gravity. In a sense, we are all time travelers already. Astronauts in orbit age slightly slower than those of us on Earth, experiencing time at a different pace. The effect is small, but it is real. From relativity came speculation. Could we build a wormhole, a tunnel through space-time, and stabilize it long enough to step through? Could we harness cosmic strings, theoretical defects in the fabric of the universe, to bend time into loops? Could we manipulate quantum particles in ways that mimic traveling backward through history? Each of these ideas straddles the line between possibility and impossibility, science and speculation. Experiments with quantum mechanics have even suggested glimpses of time travel-like behavior. Simulations of photons on closed time-like curves, mathematical paths that loop back on themselves, suggest that paradoxes may not emerge the way we imagine. Instead, probabilities adjust, reality reshapes itself, and contradictions dissolve. To us, the logic seems impossible, but to the quantum world it may be natural. Yet even as science edges closer to possibility, ethics looms larger than ever. The more we explore the science of time, the more we confront its dangers. Stephen Hawking once proposed the chronology protection conjecture, the idea that the universe itself conspires to prevent time travel, collapsing wormholes and destroying paradoxes before they can begin. He half-jokingly held a time traveler party, sending invitations only after the event had passed. No one showed up. To Hawking, the silence was an answer. Perhaps the reason no time travelers appear is because time travel is impossible, or because it is too dangerous to ever be used. But our obsession does not fade. Even if no traveler from the future arrives at our doorstep, we continue to dream. Every new film, every new novel, every new thought experiment is a reminder. We are not done with time travel, and perhaps we never will be, because it speaks to something timeless within us. The struggle with regret, the fear of mortality, the hope for redemption, and the hunger for knowledge. And maybe this is the greatest irony of all. We long to master time, yet our obsession with time travel is itself timeless. For thousands of years we have been telling these stories, circling the same paradoxes, returning again and again to the same questions. Perhaps in a strange way we are already caught in a loop, not in physics but in culture. We keep traveling through time in our imaginations, unable to let go. So where does that leave us? In one sense, nowhere. Time travel remains out of reach, hidden behind barriers of physics and probability. In another sense, it leaves us exactly where we have always been, dreaming of what might be, telling stories of what could be, using time travel as a lens to examine ourselves. The science may or may not come, but the obsession? That will never end. And maybe that is the true legacy of time travel. Not machines, not paradoxes, not wormholes, but the way it forces us to think, the way it makes us reflect on the past, the future, and the choices we make in the present. Because in the end, time travel is not just about moving through history, it is about understanding what it means to live inside it. Time travel begins as a question of physics, equations on a chalkboard, wormholes and cosmic strings, quantum particles and paradoxes. But by the end of our journey, we find ourselves staring into a mirror. Because the real mystery of time travel is not time itself, it is us. Throughout this exploration, we have seen how the universe both tempts and resists us. Relativity shows us that time bends. Wormholes suggest shortcuts through the cosmos. Quantum mechanics teases us with particles that seem to cheat causality. Again and again, physics whispers, maybe, just maybe, it's possible. And yet each time reality pushes back. Wormholes collapse, paradoxes loom, equations refuse to yield. It is as though the cosmos has placed time travel just beyond our grasp, dangling it like a forbidden fruit. But what if the reason lies not in physics, but in philosophy? Perhaps the universe resists time travel, not because it is impossible, but because we are not ready for it. Because the ethical burden is too great, the temptation too dangerous, the consequences too irreversible. Think about it. Time travel is the ultimate paradox, not of logic, but of morality. If you could go back and stop a war, would you? If you could save a loved one, would you? If you could leap ahead and see humanity's destiny, would you dare? Every answer is both right and wrong. Every decision saves some lives and erases others. Every change creates as much harm as it prevents. In trying to control time, we may discover that it is we who are controlled by grief, by desire, by regret, by ambition, and yet the obsession does not fade. For thousands of years, humans have told stories of time bending. From myths of heroes lost for centuries in enchanted sleep, to Wells' time machine, to the endless parade of films, novels, and series today, time travel haunts us. It is an itch we cannot stop scratching. Why? Because time travel is not really about science. It is about us. It is about our deepest hopes and our darkest fears. We are creatures who remember and creatures who imagine. We replay our past in endless loops, wondering what could have been. We dream of our future, hoping it will be brighter. We long to break free of time's prison, even as time defines what it means to live. And so we create stories where the prison doors swing open, where we can slip backward and forward, undoing, redoing, exploring, controlling. Time travel is fantasy, yes, but it is also therapy. It is how we wrestle with the pain of the past and the uncertainty of the future. And yet the paradox remains. If we ever did hold that power in our hands, what would we do with it? Would we be wise enough to resist temptation? Or would we rewrite reality again and again, until nothing of the original remained? Would we save humanity or erase it? Some thinkers have suggested a darker answer. Perhaps time travel already exists, but we will never see it, because every attempt to alter history fails. Reality simply adjusts. The paradoxes cancel themselves out. Time protects itself. In this view, we are already living in a universe where time travelers may have visited, but whatever they did was always meant to happen. You cannot change the past, because the past already includes your interference. It is a closed loop. You were always part of the story. Others imagine the multiverse. Change the past and you do not overwrite history, you branch it. Every choice, every alteration spins off a new universe, leaving the original untouched. In this view, time travel creates infinite realities, infinite timelines, infinite versions of us. Perhaps somewhere out there, another you did save that loved one, another you did stop that war, another you did choose differently. But then the question becomes, is that really you? Or just a ghost in a parallel world? While you remain here, trapped in the choices you cannot undo. Possibility of all, maybe we will never know. Maybe time travel is possible, but not for us. Perhaps it exists only at scales beyond our comprehension, among particles in the folds of quantum foam, or in the lives of civilizations far beyond our reach. Or perhaps it is possible only in imagination, in the stories we tell, in the dreams we weave. Maybe the reason no time traveler has ever appeared is not that it cannot be done, but that it should not be done. The silence of time itself may be the answer. So we arrive at the closing paradox. Time travel is impossible, and yet in a way it already exists. Every memory is a journey into the past. Every dream is a leap into the future. Every story we tell about time travel is itself a form of traveling through time, linking the minds of the present to those of the past and the future. Perhaps that is why the obsession endures. Not because we will one day build a machine of gears and circuits, but because time travel is already inside us. We carry our histories with us, replaying them endlessly. We carry our futures too, imagining them, fearing them, hoping for them. The arrow of time may drag our bodies forward, but our minds slip backward and forward every day, in memory, in imagination, in regret, in hope. And so maybe the final truth is this. Time travel is not a question of physics to be solved, but a question of humanity to be understood. It is not about bending space-time, but about understanding why we so desperately want to. The real machine is not built of steel or wormholes. The real machine is us, and that is the closing paradox. The time machine we seek may never be built, because it already exists, inside our stories, inside our culture, inside our minds. And in that sense, we have been time travelers all along.